everybody. Happy Monday night. Today is June 5th, 2023. This is Across the Pitch. We are down a man, but not out. I am Mike Breyer. To my right or left, however you wanted to call it, is Jose Nunez. Jose, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, Mike. I think we're making good on our promise to, regardless if it's me and Dave, you and Dave, me and you, whatever the mix is for the show. We always want to have something for you guys, whether it's 5, 10, 20 minutes, or gosh, I think Mike, the three of us have caught ourselves talking for an hour and change on occasion. So long way to say we're just really excited to provide you with something, and that's our promise to you.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who are wondering where Dave is, he's tied up for work. Even though he's 5 hours ahead of us, which would be what, 2 o'clock in the morning. He works really weird hours. I know he does work for Gillingham as well for their media team. So, Dave is busy in a way, but Jose and I will be holding down the fort today. We have Kyle. Kyle's half of the one team we all agree on. So, Kyle, thanks for joining tonight. I appreciate it. And yes, he said an epic Saturday night it was, and we're going to get to that in just a bit, as well as a commercial narrated by Jose. If you're wondering why is Mike wearing a Manscaped shirt, well,
Oh my God.
if you were an AAT Birds, AAT Sports original, you knew that we were sponsored by Manscaped a long time ago. We've brought them back, and we have a new commercial to air tonight that Jose has narrated, which I have
I got
watched twice already.
I gotta tell you, recording this in a house with two kids and my wife and the dog, it was actually pretty difficult to find the time and space to do it. Never mind, not laughing while recording it
Yeah,
because a little maybe inside baseball before we get started, but man, they really try to script you, and I took liberties in sort of editing that to make it sound like us, make it sound original. The offer that we're offering to anybody listening or watching, it's not unique. And I'm not going to lie to you that it's unique,
you're
but
right.
we want to make sure that you get something and you support us. So you'll see it if you're a podcast listeners or a podcast listener. You'll notice that the copy is somewhat similar, or you start picking up on sponsors on what they ask their people to say. Ours is a little bit different, so I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's basically how can we make a joke about balls in within in an hour and 40 minutes. But again, it's a good sponsor for us to have, and they just came back with us recently, so that will be at the end of the show. But before we get to that entertaining piece of work from you, we will be discussing the Philadelphia Union, who got 6 points out of a possible 6 points this past Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday, they took on Charlotte FC, and then this past Saturday, they beat CF Montreal. I would say the latter of the two more convincing than the first. But Jose, were you at the game on Wednesday or no?
I was not. My wife
Neither
was
was I.
feeling
Okay.
ill.
Mhm.
Yeah, my wife was feeling ill, and I stayed home with the boys. But that really felt a lot more difficult than it should have been. But all credit is due to Charlotte, right? A strong
Yeah.
team that year two trying to figure it out. We've been in those growing pains. We've gone through them, and as I mentioned to Dave out from Charlotte, who had joined us in the past. I think I guest podcasted
Yep.
that day, and we interviewed
Dave
him.
Gusler, I believe his name is.
Gusler,
Yep.
yes. I just know his Twitter handle is Gusbuster. So
Yeah.
Dave, is going through it. Year two, it's difficult. We've been there. We've done that. We don't think we ever want to go back to that. But nonetheless, homecoming in a way for Derek Jones, who played the entire 90, which is
Yeah.
awesome. It was great to see him. But I think a couple of standout things to me from that game is just how the back three pocketed a World Cup attending. I don't know how much playing time he got. Striker and Kyle Swiderski,
Yeah.
all but a ghost during that match. So I was really happy to notice that. And again, another stand-up performance from Leon Flock, who seems to have figured it out in the on the six or whatever the pivot is right there right now.
Well, so for my on my side of things, I was traveling to basically Morristown, New Jersey, which is about an hour and 45 minutes north of me. At the time of the game, I was away for work. I didn't come back till even like late Thursday night. So I was away for work for about a day and a half, and I was listening to the game, and I did catch some of the preview, but I came into the hotel right before the goal scored. So at least I got to see that, which I was very happy about. But you're right, Leon Flock seems to be fitting in his own. The goal that was overturned by Ua, I believe, was actually assisted by Leon Flock as well early on. Um, and I know if I remember hearing from the radio from Dave Leno and Shannon Williams that he also contributed to the Carranza post shot in the
Yep.
beginning. So he was active. And listen, Charlotte I know is kind of a newer team, but they still have been in fairly decent form. We kind of discussed this earlier, a bit last week as well. They weren't exactly, scrubs coming to the stadium on Wednesday. They were in fairly decent form, scoring some goals. So was it harder than we probably wanted? Sure, but again, to your credit, Jose, I think we have to tip our hat to Charlotte. They at least played us the right way and held on for what was the goal? 70th minute, right?
70th minute, and beyond me how referees come up with this or how they make these decisions, but it was scored as an own goal. So Daniel Gazdag missing an open play goal there with a header, which for him to score headers is rare.
Mhm.
I think obviously PK is his this year. It seems to be his mo, and then some beautiful shots that he's putting out there. Um, but to your point of Charlotte playing us well, it's no secret that teams outpossess us. That's just the way we play, the way that we
True.
manage games at home and even away. But outpassing us, 439 passes to 356, and a far better pass accuracy by 5% or so. So they were at 77% and 72 on our end. But what's really interesting is, and I think this is just a result of playing on the counterattack, 4 offsides on our end. So 0 for them, which also goes to show that maybe their outlets were not quite as effective as ours. Right? They didn't have
Yeah.
the opportunity to break away the way that maybe they had intended to counter us as we sort of park ourselves on our enemies' halves and try to press them to oblivion and let them cuff up the ball. So interesting game. Must admit, disappointed it didn't show up. But I'm just glad that there was a win and I actually got to see the goals versus, the two Carranza goals at halftime a couple of matches ago when I was putting my son to bed. So I don't know if you had any additional observations. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody who is watching can let us know. But where's Bender? Ben Bender. Haven't seen him play in a little bit. Is he having an injury? For
I
Charlotte, I should say.
I know you were high on Ben Bender last year when we talked to Dave. You had mentioned, oh, well, what's the hype around Ben?
Maryland guy.
Yeah, he kind of fell off from the faces. We have a comment here from Terry actually. It was an own goal. It hit the post and then bounced off the back of the goalie, then into the goal. So I guess credit where credit's due. Listen, Carranza gets awarded the goal that hits, two players into the net, but Gazdag doesn't. So, is what it is there. Uh, I'm not putting too much weight into the fact that it was only 1-0. I think you just have to, midweek game. We still had a game on Saturday, right? So it was a shorter week for us as well. So take it for what it's worth. I mean, for me personally, I thought the game against Montreal had a bigger impact overall on my viewing because I was actually able to watch the game from start to finish. So we can always just jump to that rather than dwelling on Charlotte. So Jose, the game versus Montreal, what were your thoughts on from everything? Because you were there in 140.
I was there in 140 back at it again. Brought my cousin Dylan, who I
Nice.
think is watching. So I maybe back up a little bit. I think Wednesday was the first game that they enacted, and I apologize if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just forgetting, but parking lot B all gone. Cannot park there anymore. Broke ground. So
Yeah,
the shifting around of bodies and shoving people into lot G. And obviously, I'm saying this from a place of privilege, as you and I and other members of the media have been unbelievably spoiled with the B VIP parking. I
it's
know
nice.
Bry, who's probably watching, Dylan, who's watched, Brendan, who's gone with me. There's Dylan.
There's Dylan.
Uh, all have experienced lot C. They've also experienced regular lot B, and most recently, before the switch or the groundbreaking, they experienced lot B VIP, which is
Right.
obviously 100 yards from the stadium, maybe at worst.
Yeah.
So I must admit, and we say this as people, or I say this as someone who loves the team and wants to see it grow, and I get it, but there has to be a solution, right? It's 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 criminal to me that parking prices have gone up, considering that you're being shoved into a dust bowl and gravel bowl.
Fair. Yeah, the park. So it was funny because you know how actually let's talk about these parking lots real quick. So let's double back. to the fact that the Sons of Ben tailgate is now in lot, I think G, right?
Just off of
Yeah,
G
it's like
and
off to the G to the side was that kind of shed looking thing, right?
yeah.
And I know they have the Union Yard now, which is a cool thing beforehand and after the games to hang out. They have the taco stand. Now I was at Zed's on Saturday night for one of the games last 2 weeks ago, whenever the last away match was, and we were talking about how the fact that the Union Yard is charging like $8 for like a hot dog or something ridiculous. Like they're just charging a lot of money compared to the Sons of Ben, where you pay, that flat rate. Here's $20. If I'm a member, I can pay whatever it is, 15 or something like that. You get in and you can just eat and drink to your heart's content. Is it the best food in the world? No, it's just basic tailgating food, but it's convenient and it's cheap and it's easy to get to. But the first time I go into the lot G, right, or whatever the hell it is, off for the Sons of Ben, I stepped on like some big rock and almost like twisted my ankle. So it's just like a poorly paved and located region of
Yeah.
to sit and park in. But I have.
And
Did you check?
you have a press pass, which again, like
Yeah,
we say this as sitting on, our ivory thrones of, we don't pay for it. We're lucky in that sense, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think they were asking 28, $30 per car.
What? Oh, Kyle actually adds your comment. Bender had been injured, but he was
Okay.
off the injury pre-match. There you go. Thank you,
Thanks,
Kyle, for
Kyle.
your notes. Um, yeah, I mean, I know. I think back to about. I want to go. This is 2023, so I'm gonna date myself a little bit here. We're gonna go back to about 2009. Okay, so I had got tickets to see 30 Seconds of Mars at the
God.
BB&T Pet Center. It's like the Tweeter Center, whatever it was in
Yeah.
Camden, right? It was $40 for parking.
Yeah,
What,
no, I get that.
15 years ago, right? For some
Yeah.
concert. I wonder when the Union are going to finally hit that number of 40, because it's already, like you said, $25, $20 to park and counting. Are we ever going to get the $40 to park a damn car?
I
If you're not driving a Subaru, that is.
I don't know, Mike, and and I even learned that too about the Subaru parking lot, and maybe it was more common knowledge to people, as someone who just got one. Um, Up to 70 Subarus. Anything after that, you have to go and pay for your own parking. So that's capped as well. So, appreciate the sponsorship Subaru and the
Yeah,
branding all over the stadium, but capping it at 70 is a little, I don't
cheap.
know, a little, yeah, whatever. So, anyways,
Just call it for what it is. It's a little cheap.
yeah, it's a little cheap, yeah, but and
they're,
I don't
they're
want to.
not. They're not our sponsors. So we can say
Yeah, yeah.
it.
Well, if they want to, they can let me
Yeah,
know.
that's
But
true.
don't want to dwell on the parking too much. Just
Yeah,
something I noticed, and I know a lot of people were sort of, hung up on it too, and having experienced it, man, that I can't imagine paying that much for it. But it again, as long as we continue to cover the team and provide you guys with news content, showing up to pressers and doing our jobs as jobs in air quotes, right? Of covering the Union, we're excited to show up and not have to pay, but it's getting a little difficult to stomach that cost. So
yeah.
beyond that, right at the parking lot, a lot of really happy people, a lot of people that my cousin and I were talking to people, there for their first game or bringing their kids. So the typical, crowd. It was also the Pride, Pride Month game or Pride Night, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of colorful stuff out there, a lot of people walking around. The Sons of Ben tailgate was, I think, bigger than I've ever seen it, even at Lot
Really?
B,
Wow.
which was cool to see.
Cool.
Union Yards, pretty thin, a little awkward with the competing DJs. And I'm rambling a little bit here, but
No, I
just,
want to hear this because I haven't been there yet for the Union Yard. So
yeah. So,
please
and this is,
let me hear it.
yeah, no. So this is as Dylan and I were walking over to pick up my press pass. So I had my stinky cigar in one hand and just walking down to get my press pass. Which again, another goofy thing when you walk into the plaza, can't bring an open container, but I can bring a cigar in.
What?
Right. Weird, right? So Dylan
Okay.
and I had to either chug or actually, when I went to pick up my press pass, he was kind enough to hold my beer while I just walked around with my cigar and got my press pass. Met an employee named Dina from the union who was lovely, checking my name out into the list, whatever, gave me my pass. So that was goofy, but the atmosphere was good. A lot of smiles, music playing. But I found that so funny, just how packed the Sons of Ben lot was compared to, I don't know, Dylan can comment if he's still listening, 35, 40 people tops over at the Union Yards. It, and honestly, it really just divided by a lane, right? Just like one vehicle lane going into the railroad yard. So I think there's a lot of room for collaboration. Is there a way to have a single DJ, have the speakers blasting on both ends of the parking lots, sort of bringing it all together? Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. There's a reason why I'm not part of the Sons of Ben. I don't need any of that drama. I respect what they
There's a
do.
lot of drama in the
I
Sons of Ben.
don't I don't need that. So, just something I'm noticing as someone who finally maybe the Sons of Ben lot came to me. I know I've always sort of stuck around with the people that I take every single game.
There was a
Um,
kickball game after the Sons of Ben law. Mike Borton, who I know you got to meet, I think, right, officially or not.
yeah.
Mikey Borton was like, "Yeah, we had a kickball game." I was like, "Hell yeah! What am I missing? I got to go to these games. There's a kickball. There's a taco stand is there now. I'm missing a lot." Um, I've
Oh, let
heard.
me show you this.
Oh
They were
yes,
handing out these little
look at
towels
this.
that look like the jerseys. How cool
That
is
is
that?
badass. Oh, wait, here we go. Valerie, our good friend Valerie commented, Union Yards had more people in it this week than in the week before, which is, I believe, the first week it had.
Sure.
Valerie also says it is possible to completely avoid it is possible to completely avoid the drama. I do. It is possible, but when you live on Twitter like we do, Valerie, it's very difficult. And then Dylan says maybe 40 people. Music between the two was odd to hear while walking by. So just to kind of, if people don't know what we're talking about, the Union had this new pregame and postgame
Hub,
tailgating.
I guess, right? Yeah.
It's a hub. It's like Xfinity Live, minimized, I should say, into Subaru Park. Has like games. It has that taco stand. It has food being sold. That kind of stuff. The prices, from what I've heard, are more than people should be spending for that kind of stuff. And listen, I think the fact
$25 for tacos.
that's they're not, they can't be that good.
20,
Um,
25, I think I saw
that's
someone
absurd.
post.
That's absurd.
That's
See, that's the thing.
nuts.
People are already spending 25 to 30 bucks for parking. They're not going to spend an extra 25, 30 bucks for all that when you can just bring your own food, bring your own tailgate, and party there and have a good time there. Maybe that's just the nostalgic in me who used to bring a small grill to the games and just cook right. Maybe that's just how I am, but I think people are automatically going to just gravitate to the Sons of Ben. And I know the Sons of Ben members who I've been in contact with, some of them were not very pleased about the whole Union Yard because it does feel very divided compared to just let's all be one big tailgate. Let's sponsor each other. Let's help each other out. But I,
Neither here or there. But
I
Mike, to
digress.
your point, the move, and Dylan and Bry know this, and anybody who's gone with me, one Costco pizza, maybe two Costco pizzas and 5 hot dogs, 19, $20. You're set. you know,
That's all
pre
it
and
is.
post game. So and actually I forgot to mention on our way back, or on our way to pick up my pass, Jay Sugarman leaving the stadium. Not sure if he was going to his car and then back, but kind of stood out as the only person wearing probably a $700 suit jacket, slacks, dress shoes, and a white shirt. So a little weird to see him sort of standing up. And of course, he's very slender. Salt and pepper like hair, kind of looking down. I don't know if you felt like he was a celebrity that no one would notice him. I don't know that many would notice him outside of idiots like us who know way too much about this team. But beyond that, I think it was an absolutely fine afternoon pregame. You could sort of start feeling, and this is maybe when we start moving more into the actual match, but you sort of felt like it was going to be a special night. And I know that sounds cliche or stupid, but just it really started to feel like, oh my god, okay, this is fun. The weather finally held up. There was no rain. It wasn't also freezing. It wasn't like overly
It was a
windy.
nice night.
It was a beautiful night for soccer. Tarp stayed off for 95% of the game, so there was no issue there with being too cold or anything. So
There you go.
nice night altogether. But I think we can move over to the soccer unless you have any questions of stuff I haven't answered.
No, let's get right to the soccer. So, again, Montreal has a big match on Wednesday for the Canadian Championship. So they were very much, rotated. I think they had a 7 or 8 changes overall. So they had a lot of rotation because of the importance of Wednesday's match. Because for them, a win in the Canadian Championship earns them a spot in the CONCACAF Champions League. So of course, all tension was there. But
The
I mean,
money, Mike. It's the
it's
money. Got to get in that competition. At
listen,
least
man.
what, 2 home games or a home game?
We talk about the Facebook comments and stuff like that. The people discussing the Champions League right now. I'm trying to just stay away from it. It's comical to say the least. Uh, so we had the game on Saturday. Now, right off the bat, we noticed three very important changes. We had Matt Real on the wing back. We had Kyle, was I say Kyle Lowry? Oh my God, Kai Wagner. Oh my God, and the left side of the three in the back, we had Bueno and we had Nathan Harriel. Oddly enough, I know Carranza scored 2 goals, but I have to say the men of the match were that central four line of Flock, Bueno, Harriel, and Matt Real. I thought all four played excellent. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean Jim Curtin said as much at the press conference, and again, thank you for to Dylan for understanding. I let him know that, hey, tickets free on me, but I need to stick around for the press conference, and he obliged, no problem. Sort of waiting for traffic to go out and whatnot. So thank you to him. But yeah, Jim, I got to ask a question at the press conference and asked about Matt's performance, and for him to expand on it, because earlier he had mentioned how he was happy with the way that the players that are typically role players stepped up tonight, which
Yeah,
is absolutely true. You alluded to it just a couple of seconds ago. But Matt Real specifically, and on a contract year, literally a single contract year, Jim was very quick to say that he would probably start for the majority of the teams in this league in some way, shape, or form at some positions. It just stinks that he is stuck behind Kai Wagner at our team, right? Stinks
yeah,
for him, great for us in terms of depth. So I think Matt had an incredible game and hustling, not holding on to the ball as much, which is what we noticed at the
no.
Charlotte game. And was it Charlotte or maybe it was DC? I can't remember
DC,
where.
you're thinking of DC, yeah,
Yeah, where he was being caught in possession one too many times, especially for a player at this level. But you're right. I think all of those players really stepped up. Nate had a great game as well. A wonderful shot that, unfortunately, right at the keeper, could have been a fourth goal. But that place was ready to erupt, and it had erupted a couple of times already. That a fourth goal would have just done it even further. And obviously, we can talk about Carranza's performance, but let's also not forget about that miss, that sitter that he put into the river.
yeah. So focusing on those four players, you first of all you have the assist from Matt Real for Julian Carranza's perfectly placed first goal, first strike from just outside the 18 box, and I thought what I noticed the most from those four in particular was the fact that they were very aggressive in their press. I think all of them were extremely active, but Nathan Harriel, he looked like he had been benched for a while. Like he was just playing on another level,
Hmm.
and I thought offensively speaking, I thought he was almost a little bit more involved than we've seen Olivier in extended time. I mean, am I
Yeah,
crazy for thinking that? I thought he was extremely involved.
Yeah, he played like a possessed man, right? I think he knew
Yeah,
that this was his opportunity. He had to take it. And we said the same about Matt Real in DC and, how he sort of squandered it. And then we went even further to, if we, pull the calendar back even further, we talk about Bueno when he had to play on that terrible pitch in the CONCACAF Champions League abroad.
yeah,
And, what a bummer for someone with his skill to have to play on those surfaces. But yeah, I think Nate sort of felt that fire in his belly, right? Where he sort of probably said to himself, I got to do this
yeah.
or I'm not going to play for a little while. Obviously, we have an upcoming break prior to the the
Leagues
League's
Cup.
Cup.
Yeah,
Sorry, different competition. So I think he sort of picked up on that, and as they get ready to depart for San Jose in 2 days' time, he must be feeling good about his chances to be featured more after that performance, and really all four of them. And to your point, Mike, about cohesiveness in the after the presser, we for those that don't know, we get to go into sort of the it's sort of like a room with some grassy area where the players can
it's like a
pass the.
book. See, when you walk into the locker room, there's like a buffet line,
Yep,
and there's a patch of green grass where the
yep.
their kids play soccer. But that's typically where the out of the press conference interviews happen for the media. And then when you walk further back, you go into the actual locker room, which is usually cut off limits for everybody. So well, that's what Jose you're talking about, that grassy area.
Yeah, it's a neat little area they can pass the ball around, whatever. I'm guessing that's probably the intention pre-game for them
Yeah.
to sort of like the last few touches before they go on the field.
Right.
but Mikel Ua was also very, very quick to say during those interviews, and I asked the question about, 2 weeks ago, I asked you, Mikel, about the cohesion of the team, right, with all of these faces coming and going from the roster, and he had alluded about how difficult it has been to sort of find that pattern, right? When you look at teams across Europe and really everywhere but the US, you don't see as much rotation as you see maybe in the MLS. And I could be wrong, but from what I recall of watching so much Premier League, you sort of have that 11 rather than preparing for opponents. You prepare for your best 11 and go at it.
Yeah.
So Mikel was this time around sort of like, yeah, I think we're finding our way here, right? Is it a change of formation, which Jim claims
Yes.
that the claims that it isn't his favorite, though he goes on and gushes about it for 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes during a post game press conference that typically on on an average night lasts what, Mike, like 10
At the
tops.
most, yeah, at the
Yeah.
most.
So Miko was high on it. So high on the performance and high on the way that the game went. But and the final thought about those four, Mike, Jim at the press conference was also very appreciative of the work rate of Leon Flock and really his mental game, figuring out when to go
Yes.
forward, when to stay back, and when someone goes forward, having the wherewithal to stay behind and cover. So it seems like that part of his game is sort of clicking now, especially when you're in the open as the six or the eight, yeah, as the six, the pivot, sort of figuring that out and not no longer being, on that wing position where you have the chalk covering your back, right?
Hmm.
Right here, you're in no man's land and you're really the next line of defense, Bar, Elliott, or Glesnes. So I think overall it was, despite it being probably Montreal B, a really, really good performance from the Union, and heavily rotated as well, as we learn about Lowe's knee.
Yeah. So apparently it fluid, right?
An unbelievable amount of fluid, according to Jim. More than, I think, if I recall, he had mentioned that it was. I've never seen that much fluid come out of someone's knee.
It's weird that he played then. I mean, granted, it's good that Kai Wagner got the rest that he did, and of course, Brandon Craig's not around. He actually just finished up his tour with the U.S. Youth National Team as they just got eliminated by Uruguay. I believe it was 2-0 was the final score. But I was surprised that he came in, especially because Jim doesn't typically sub out defensive backs as often as he does everyone else ahead of him. But I
Unless it
did.
was the ultimate kill the game move, right? To put someone of that stature and speed, barring the knee.
He played fine, and I think that Jim doesn't want to fully commit to the new formation, but having that back three and having the quality of players you have in that line really does give the freedom to everybody in front of the push forward. And to touch on Leon Flock, so I think me in particular owe Leon an apology for one, but granted he wasn't playing that great early on, but he has figured it out. And I thought one of the sequences, I believe against Charlotte, I don't think it was this past match. I think it was against Charlotte. It was a quick throw in from Kai. Gazda kind of chips it, and Leon just kind of maneuvers his way
Yep.
right to the box. And I think it was a Carranza hit the goal off the post when they hit the ball
Yep.
off the post. So he maneuvers, he finds just the right avenue inside the box, and he cuts it back. And if you remember from the later portions of last year, I mentioned that Leon's game was developing offensively in the sense that he was finding those cutbacks and he's finding those quick 1-2 passes that were just helping connect the game together. So we don't need Leon to be feeding people out the back, like Harris or McGlynn or even Martinez. And we don't need him finishing goals either, right? We're not trying to have him be Gazdag. You need him to be a connector
Yep.
from point A, he's point B, he goes to point C. So he had that moment with Carranza. In Carranza's second goal, all three of those new guys got involved. We had Bueno, Flock, and Real. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, right to Gazlag. Gazlag does the showy work, and Carranza finishes off. But Leon has a different approach in the way he's touching the ball right now. It does seem more calm. It does seem more strategically placed, if you will, rather than just kind of kicking it up and seeing what happens. And I think mentally, as you said, mentally, he seems more into the game rather than kind of lost in the sauce in the back. So I'm happy for Leon. I really am because I think we all had very high aspirations for him, and to see him kind of go into this. Same thing with Bueno. Bueno is very much becoming Jose Martinez esque in the way he's able to control the ball, make these wonderful tackles. And I thought he also played well that night, especially with Ali Bedoya still on the mend, and now Jose Martinez with a yellow card this past weekend. Opportunity is there for Bueno.
Yeah, Ali was at the media area after the game. Didn't get a chance to talk to him. He was walking around. I didn't notice a limp. I didn't notice anything weird.
Yeah,
So there's that. But if you take a look back at the game as well a little bit, same story. Outpossess 56 to 44%, outpass 454 to 350. Their accuracy was obviously higher than ours as well, since they had the ball more by 8% or so. But again, we play our game, which also means more offsides than the other team, being caught offsides 4 times and they weren't caught offside at all. So we sort of, continue to have this counterattack first mentality, I believe, and
yeah.
sort of nesting ourselves and not really giving them the space to try to put something over top of us and have to play the high line in any way, shape, or form. So I think overall an exciting game. But Mike, I'm really excited to also talk about the off the field performance by the fans.
Oh,
Jim
so good.
during the press conference was, I think, you know, you and I see him all the time. So for those that don't, he usually does an opening statement. And the first few words out of his mouth was just thank you to the fans. That was an unbelievable performance by the fans. And as someone who was there in the stands, not in the press box, it was close to, I wouldn't say as good, but close to what we experienced against NYCFC in the playoffs.
Yeah,
That
it's
type of
wild.
electricity, that it was good. And I biased to them, but the 140 guys before the game even kicked off, drum was going, chants were going, so it almost became an expectation from 139, 138, 101, and 102 to start picking up some of the chants and start listening, picking up the words, as there's no game to pay attention to. So kudos to them. Corey Furlan, I believe, is one of
Corey,
the, yeah,
yeah.
Corey is obviously very, very involved with that and does a wonderful job. So
There's
uh,
Valerie says it was a dupe and awesome atmosphere. I love it.
yeah, and and Dylan, if he's watching, I'd love to hear his thoughts too. But it was very, very fun, especially with the occasion, right? Trying to Pride Night, etc.
Yeah.
It was just electric. The everybody got involved, especially with the shalala chant. I kid you not, Mike. I could hear all the way across, right over to the folks that have the Ring of Honor.
Wow.
All of them got involved. The entire stadium was going at it. Um, Singing, chanting. It was I'm eager to see what it looks like come playoff time, right? Whether we are a number 1 seed or we're clawing for our life into the playoffs towards the tail end of the season, or we're one of those last 2 spots that have to sort of have this play-in tournament per se. Um, Really excited to see what that stadium looks like, because again, I think capacity, yeah, there's Dylan. Capacity of that stadium is 18,000 something. I
No,
think official numbers
19.5, I think.
19.5. I,
Yeah.
I think this past weekend the official numbers were a little bit beyond that because of standing room, which was
Yeah.
awesome. So, long way to say, I can't wait, and I hope, and I know once we get into summer, hopefully that means more attendance, but that also means people come and go as they have vacations. I really hope that that atmosphere continues and it's something that we build on, and especially for the fans like Val, who sits in 105, or Dylan, who comes and goes as his schedule can with the additional tickets that I have, that people get into it, and enjoy it, because we see what Charlotte's going through right now. We've been there. We see what Montreal's going through right now, and I don't think we've been as low as they have. But we really should cherish this time as good as we have it, and we've had it for the last 4 or 5 years. Let's just not take it for granted.
No, you're right. And I listen, I mean, Jose, you and I have been here for years. We've seen Subaru Park or PPL Park or Town Energy Stadium, however far back you go, we've seen it be, half capacity on a Saturday night. And it's nowhere near as electric as you'd like it to be. But we just, I mean, I know Corey posted, like, it's been 15, we waited 15 years for this moment where the entire stadium is joining. If you haven't checked out Todd Lewis's video from the Free Kick Pod account. He puts a video from the press box and it shows the Shalala chant going back and forth, and it's hard to imagine that it's come to that point. But then you also have great drummers. Like I know we had Adam Joseph, which is obviously beloved in the area. Jason Kelsey was drumming on Wednesday, and he broke the damn drumstick and then chugged the Coors Light on the field. So there's just a different energy right now to the Union. Of course, they've also have gone unbeaten in 9 games, but it's safe to say that the change in formation and the has revitalized these players, and they're playing with a new sense of life to them. It's not stagnant anymore. There's just more of an energy. Do you think the players are kind of feeding off that too from their play?
Yeah, I think so. I got to speak with. I keep on saying I got to. I was really involved with the press this weekend, which was fun. I spoke with Julian after the match, and I got to ask him the question. And I'm able to speak to him in Spanish, and I asked him, what do you want to say to the fans after this match, just so he could really uh, get the answer he wanted to say.
Yeah,
And he was extremely appreciative of what the home fan base has been doing over these last few games, and he apologized in a way too for the DC match. But he was really quick to say that it's not the same when they're not there, and it's not the same when we're not performing. So sort of feeding into one another has been the mo these last couple of weeks, and it's apparent, which is also a bummer because now they disappear for a few weeks, which stinks considering how good things are right now. You'd
yeah,
hope after this past weekend that yes, hopefully we're sending them off to San Jose feeling good, feeling confident, but you also wish that they were at home to sort of have another repeat performance from the crowd and how involved it was. And I know, again, bodies come and go, first timers, many timers,
yeah,
timers that have coming back for the first time in years, being there. So yeah, I think the players are feeding off of it, and it's apparent. They're
yeah,
saying as much, so that's really cool to hear, and another testament to the work of the Corys of the world, the Sons of Bens of the world, Valerie and 105, folks around the stadium who pay attention to our little podcast here. It's really rewarding to finally, as Corey mentioned, 15 years of trying hard to get people involved, and I gotta give credit to Corey. No bullhorn necessary for him to get a crowd going. So
yeah,
really, really, really fun weekend, and I hope that when we get back there on the 24th, it's just as fun.
yeah. It seems like forever from now. Well, speaking of, I guess, touching on the last parts of the game before we go to the San Jose match. So we know that Ua has been scoreless for a while. He finally gets his chance to score a goal and get back on the swing of things. But I think Ua has been doing well from the assist rate. I know he had the one throw and he had the assist, I think, about 2 weeks ago, 2 matches ago as well. So it's good to see Ua get back on the scoring board. Gazdag has, of course, been playing well. Julian has been playing well, scoring well. He was so close to the hat trick. To your point that you mentioned earlier, Jose, the sitter that he had just 10 yards away from the keeper was awful that he missed that.
I was gonna ask him about that, but then I saw that his daughter was there, and he was very, giggly of finally having someone ask him a question in Spanish. In
Yeah,
Spanish, he said that as much to me. It's rare for him to get some Spanish speaking press to be in the
yeah,
room.
it is.
That I didn't ask him that, but man, I wonder what's going through his head because this is not the first one that he's missed.
No.
It's almost like the easy ones are very difficult for him, but then these very tight angles or honestly, his first goal against Montreal is textbook about how to use bodies in front of you
Yeah,
to sneak a ball past the keeper. The keeper was perfectly positioned. He was just that much quicker and better than really most of the
yeah.
players on that field at that moment. It was awesome. It's just again, I hate to call it a sitter, but it really felt
That
like a
was.
sitter.
No, that was. If you look back at the LAFC game from last year too, he hits that left-footed shot from the across the box. He has these moments, these goals that are spectacular, but he does miss these sitters a lot. Especially look back at Colorado. Remember he had the
Yeah.
chance, and I always say if he just got his foot around the ball, he would have had an easy goal. He does miss these easy opportunities, which it's hard to get mad at him for because of how well he's been scoring lately. He's scored 6 goals in 6 games. The Union at home, especially, have outscored their opponents 61-11 in the last 20 matches at home, including the playoffs, which is just extraordinary when you think about it. But in terms of the recent form, they've only allowed, what, 2 goals in the last 7 games? I mean, defensively, they're just clicking right now, you know?
Yeah, and this is a far cry, and I think I know I was, and I'm gonna pat myself in the back. I think I was one of the few people, and I think you were sort of feeling this way. I think Dave was really bummed about it. He can maybe comment to it next week. But when the sky was falling, right, coming off of two competitions within a week, everybody thought it was time to blow it up. But in reality, we were in the semifinals of a continental competition. The
Yeah.
U.S. Open Cup, sort of a long, long wanted trophy for us that we've been very, very close to achieving a few times now. But in reality, we just were not bad. It was just a tough week that made it feel like it's been an awful season altogether. So really excited to have that behind us. And one last comment on Carranza, and really I think you can also add Matt Real to this.
Hmm.
Enjoy them while we have him, especially somebody like Julian Carranza, who don't I I can't imagine that he sticks around with us for too long. I think the window opens July 1, I guess the international window. Yeah, yeah, that would be it. Yeah. The European market technically opens July 1, and I think the MLS market lines up with it too, since we get two windows. It's sort of in peak season.
Right.
And if I'm wrong, please, anybody watching, let me know. But I know Jim has been open about who knows how long we have with Julian, because he is putting up numbers, and honestly, games like Charlotte, or was he on Charlotte? But there's games where he may not show up in the scoring sheet,
Yeah.
but the work rate that he puts behind his game, and
For 90 minutes too. Yeah.
grinding people down for 90 minutes is very apparent, and it's what teams from abroad also love. So long way to say, let's enjoy players like Carranza, who I still blows my mind. A fuse goes off in my head of just how poorly managed Inter Miami is and continues to be, to have let
Yeah.
him go for what we got him when we're probably about to turn certainly in the millions. So a a good return on a player that was all but finished in a really bad situation in Miami.
You think about the financial turn-ins right now. So that's probably going to be a higher payday than Brendan Aronson. People have at least argued that it might be close to more than Brendan was. But then you think about Brendan with the relegation clause now that that's enacted, and see where he goes next. But then Jose Martinez comes back. I don't think we discussed it last week, did we? That Jose Martinez got re-signed. Was there not?
We mentioned it. Yeah, we talked about
Okay.
it because I was amazed at the fact that or maybe we did. I don't know. I just remember making the comparison that Joaquin Torres was making more
Yes.
money than
Okay.
Jose Martinez
Yeah.
at
So
one point.
it's gonna be to see. They obviously put money to Jose Martinez. He's here now. I think the option until 2026 to see where that money is going to get allocated then for Carranza's replacement. Because the reality is, and let's talk about the depth now. The reason why this episode is titled "Depth and Decisions" is not only for the San Jose match, but the reality is we're still missing three very important players right now, and yet playing the best soccer we've played since last year, maybe earlier last year. The fact that Quinn Sullivan and Jack McGlynn and Brandon Craig are all coming back off the youth national team. Like, are they going to be available for this Saturday? Do you know, or will they have to be next match?
I think they're back because I was thinking about Caden for San Jose probably being back as
I
well.
know. I wish they had won just for that reason alone. Um, so you're going to see those three players come back, but we were told by Curtin that Bedoya could have been back this past week. He wasn't even on the start. He wasn't even on the bench.
No, he was
So
dressed really nicely, all black.
exactly. So we know that he hasn't been playing. You're mentioning he's walking around fine, which of course walking's different than playing, of course. But the decision now in front of us is the depth problems we have because if you do lose Karans in a month or so, you need to have a replacement within the immediate future. As good as Ua and Gazag have been, part of that is because of Julian's performances right now. You cannot just slot Quinn Sullivan into that role and say, "Here we go, Quinn. Let's replicate the third highest. He's what is it, third right now for the Golden Boot in MLS.
I think so, yeah.
So to replicate that is going to be nearly impossible for Quinn to do. So to depth issues now, where do you think these four players coming back fit in?
I think they go to the bench. I've been a long commenter on, the union finding a way to or a path to move.
There you go. Valerie pays attention to our shows. Thank you, Valerie. We mentioned Martinez last week.
I think it might have been a rumor at the time.
Yeah, I think so.
But back to where do they fit in? I think this team has been long in finding a path
Bedoya.
out of Bedoya. Yeah, I think it's been tough for them to find the stepping stones to move on. Obviously, his body is he's playing well, but you can tell it's degrading, right? And it's part of it. He's had an awesome career and has represented the city so well. So I just want to get that out of the way before it sounds like I'm just trashing the man. He's done so much for us and really for this nation, international playing, but also as his civic duties and encouraging people to get involved. Never mind the bid for the World Cup in Philadelphia, how involved he was with that too. So I can't. My heart and my brain, and I'm not Jim, and I'm not nearly as qualified as him, would tell me don't touch it. you know, you got to reintroduce them slowly, maybe as a 60th minute sub, all of them. And really, all of these young guns that are just coming back played a lot of soccer
Well,
internationally these past 2 weeks.
Brendan Craig and McGlynn have been starting regularly. I know Quinn Sullivan has not been starting. I don't know if he got some substitution minutes. I only caught the first 60
Okay.
minutes of the match against Uruguay. But you look at the schedule ahead, and this is the decision making we have to do. We knew that we had two matches this past week. We had Charlotte and we had Montreal. It was clear that Jim favored the Charlotte match in terms of the starters because there was a huge rotation with huge. I say three players, huge rotation against
Huge for Jim.
huge for Jim against Montreal, which were clearly, anticipating their Wednesday match. They kind of left to be, okay, we're going to lose this game, so be it. Now, if you look at the schedule ahead for the Union, you have San Jose at 10:30 on Saturday night. You have
Oh, that's late. Holy shit.
that's very late. You have the midweek game against Orlando, and then you host Miami on Saturday. So if Jim is approaching these games where the rotation is going to be at the weaker of the opponents, right? If you looked at this past week,
Yeah. Well, Mike, you're noticing the 11 days in between, right?
oh, that's right. Fucking Christ, I forgot about that. No, I'm
Be-
not. Thank you.
between San Jose and Orlando, there's an 11-day stretch for some international friendlies. I know that Subaru will be hosting a game. I actually want to talk to
I think
Nico
so.
to see if there's any way that I can cover it for AAT just to dip my toes in their international soccer. I
That'd be
know it's
cool.
probably a completely different ball of wax altogether.
Mhm.
But there's an 11-day stretch there where there's international play happening. So that sort of makes the decision maybe a little bit easier for Jim in a way when you know
Well,
that there's 11 days of
yeah.
rest.
Thank you for reminding me because I completely forgot. So turning that around then, because there is so much rest, do we see who we saw on Wednesday or who do we see on Saturday? And is this an opportunity if it's the 85th minute where we see Bedoya for a couple minutes and McGlynn for a couple minutes just to kind of get him back in the MLS play?
Right. I don't think we see what we saw on Saturday, right? To
No.
experience that Harriel, Bueno, Flock, and Real midfield again is, I think, it's going to take another Wednesday, Saturday stretch, which we have one coming up
Yes.
between Orlando and Miami, and some travel in between from Florida, no, to Florida, and then from Florida back to us to play both Florida teams in a
Yep.
goofy way. Um, I don't think you see that. I think what we see on Saturday is maybe a full strength Union, whatever that may mean to you. But I don't think that includes a Matt Real. I don't think that includes a Bueno. But it might, considering Martinez is now ruled out with that yellow
Yellow card.
card, correct? So
Yes.
um, I think you probably see more of what you saw against what was it?
Charlotte.
No, I would probably say all but Martinez. I think you probably go back to what we saw in New York City, where you have Ua Carranza, Gastad Kai, Flock, and Bizo, Glesnes, Elliott, Lowe,
Yeah.
Blake, and substitute Martinez with
Bueno.
Bueno, maybe. Yeah. Or if Perea ever gets out of the doghouse, him.
He
But
actually played. Same with Torres. They actually both got minutes. Fairly decent amount of minutes. They almost got 20 minutes.
it also helps that you're up as high as we were. So there's that too.
Beggars can't be choosers, Jose. Beggars
N-
can't be choosers.
No, they cannot. So I actually think we'll probably see a full strength team, especially with 11 days between, but also the taxing flight from San Jose back, which before we forget, another big piece of Union history, or the growth of this team, Jamiro Montero out in San Jose. So hopefully we get to see him. Hopefully the relationship's amicable. Obviously he wanted out of Philadelphia and we were able to give him that path out. But excited to see him, just as excited as I was to watch Derek Jones on TV
He
against the Union.
he didn't play against us last year, did he?
No, I don't believe so. Whether it was injury or a suspension, I'm not quite
I think
sure. But
suspension.
I recall that he was out for that game and he was posting on social about it.
I think he was suspended from the week prior, if I remember correctly. Um, Now, it depends. It's going to depend on Lowe's knee as well, because
Sure.
if it does have that much fluid, we already saw how Ua had the knee issue, and even Jim mentioned, he's still kind of favoring that knee. We're glad to see that he's doing okay now. But if Lowe has that much fluid, I thought Real at least earned another chance on the wing back, and you put Kai back there again, and then bring in Lowe as that finisher towards the end. Unless you give Elliott a rest for once. I know Glessens isn't going to go anywhere, so that's that. Bueno's going to start though over Jose for now, at least. And then maybe that's where Bedoya comes in later on in the game. If he is ready to play, maybe he comes in for Flock and sits next to Bueno, or Bueno switches to the left, and
Hmm.
that's a rotation I'm thinking of. But I think Olivier should start because he's earned it so far this year. But my God, I kind of want to see Nathan again.
Yeah, as I would too, and I got to do a better job too. During the press time that we had in the back room with the players, I think maybe two people asked Nate questions, and then everybody went straight to Kai and straight to Ua and Julian. But I'm sure Nate has a lot of good insight for us to share. So. Yeah, I would love for him to get an opportunity, though. Let me run this by you.
Sure.
Knowing that there's 11 days between San Jose and Orlando, would this make sense as additional rest for someone like Bedoya to just let's just make sure you're absolutely 100%? Not that he's going to start against Orlando, but to make sure that if he starts being reintegrated into the team, it's at literally 100%, because I just don't know how much more time he would need for what Jim called a grade one.
Grade one trained, and Valerie says just for this game. Yeah, I believe Jose is just out for this game.
Correct.
Um, that's a fair point. Also,
Don't even put him through the flight. Just have him
I
stay in
was about to say,
Philadelphia.
that's what they did against Minnesota. Do you remember from the
Yep.
Minnesota game? They did not even send him there. They just kept him at home,
Yep.
and he watched it. I remember he posted from Instagram or something
Just
like that.
give him those funny looking leg casts that professional athletes wear. Just prop him up at home with his kids, have him watch the game, let him rest. Don't even put him through the time zone change on his body. Just because then we don't go out of the Eastern time zone. I guess Atlanta would be it. We don't
No,
go out of the East.
Atlanta's East Coast time.
Is it? Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I know it gets funky between Atlanta. Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm not sure. At this point, now you're making me
Yeah.
second guess my geography.
Well, and here's what I'm saying, because after the San Jose trip, we
Yeah.
have 3 games that we are in the East Coast
Hmm.
before we go to
L.A.
LA for another
and
West
then
Coast.
Nashville after that.
Right, which I would say Nashville is probably not as taxing in the body, on the body, I should say, as, obviously going to the West Coast, but you rest up someone like Bedoya and then you just have him play 3 games in the East Coast, not having to really put his body through the travel.
Okay. Other argument here, though, right? You're gonna go to Orlando and put him through the heat down there too.
Listen, you can pick and choose. Yeah, you're right.
I
I mean,
was,
you're
I
not
was gonna
wrong. You're
say,
not wrong.
if yeah,
Would June 21? I can't remember. I know it's sort of temperature driven or humidity driven too. The water break. So I'm not sure if they start that early in June. I know they're certainly in place typically by July.
it goes temperature based. So if it's like 85 degrees or more, humidity wise is above 80 some percent, it's a water break.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
Orlando's gonna suck for those guys. I can't running around in that temperature. I just can't imagine it's
th-
fun.
that's what I'm saying. Bedoya has an importance. We know that. But if you're looking at these next two games where you have a very significant travel and a very late night game for them on Saturday, then you have a very hot atmosphere 11 days later in Orlando. I mean, do you put him maybe that's in the Orlando match when you substitute him in for 20 minutes just to get his body kind of back into game shape? Because if he does not play until Orlando, Jose, right?
Hmm.
He's missing like
Right.
5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, right? When did
And
he
and
get? He got hurt. He got hurt on. I'm trying to look back now on the match. He got hurt against the Red Bulls, I believe.
is that what it was? Yeah. So
Around then, yeah.
it's been a minute. There's no denying, but maybe this is the rest stretch that gets him back to, you know, literally fully fit. But neither here or there. I think we'll always be surprised by whatever Jim does, especially
Yeah.
once we start throwing bodies into the West Coast. I think he gets a little more kooky with his decisions and his lineups. But to your initial question, I think you see again something like we saw in NYCFC, which worked well,
Yeah.
played very very well. And you obviously just have to substitute a Jose Martinez, which is tough to replace.
Yeah, and then you think about the mid-game subs. If Jack McGlynn is back, you want to bring him on
Hmm.
for Leon halfway through, or vice versa. Let McGlynn start and put Leon back there. Granted, of course, the problem is McGlynn's coming from a lot of travel too. He was down in Argentina, and then coming back up here, then going all the way to San Jose. So he might just be a healthy scratch, just for the sake of not overdoing him. Although he is, 19, 20 years old. So
He can
I
he can
say
put up with it.
he can put up with it.
I wouldn't even be surprised. Yeah, I guess I would. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if he came to Pennsylvania. I don't know that the union puts him up and has him train on his own out in
San Jose.
California. Yeah, in San Jose. But that would be an option considering that the team's delivering, traveling away on Wednesday. So they're getting plenty of time over there to get acclimated, more than some teams too. I know LAFC when they came to us for the CCL, they had just landed like the night before.
Oh God. Yeah, that's again, that's why we have the press conferences on Thursday and Friday night. We're going to ask these questions of Jim, see where everything lies, see where the team stands. Because again, it is a good problem to have. The depth is a good problem to have. We know Quinn Sullivan now is available soon, hopefully, to kind of get that third striker in there over Donovan. Although Donovan has had a few better moments lately, I do want to see Quinn more often. I thought he was getting better and better for us and I had mentioned a couple of episodes like this is the Quinn Sullivan I was expecting, especially with the crosses that we were seeing out of him. And then he kind of goes away and disappears for us from what feels like 2 months now at this point. So I'm excited to bring Quinn back, and hopefully he can start to maybe get the confidence from the U.S. camp and start to produce a couple goals because we have not seen him score yet. We haven't seen him score since the Orlando match last year, I think it was, if not maybe the. When did he score last?
You're asking the wrong person.
I,
I mean, you shouldn't be asking the wrong person, but I feel like I might be the wrong person. No, the Orlando match was Andres Perea.
no, no, no.
Unless,
I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about last year.
oh my God, Mike,
We're gonna fact check us real quick here.
would
Go
that
ahead.
be July 23rd, 22? That was Gastag.
Let's see. He had 2022. He had one goal.
Wasn't that the
Okay.
bicycle kick against Chicago?
Yeah, that was it.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no, because
because that wasn't 2021. Oh
that
wait,
was
no, it was 2021.
either way. It's been a while.
If anybody's listening, when did Quinn Sullivan score his last goal?
And that's
it's been a long
bad,
time.
Mike. That's
Yeah,
bad. That's bad.
it's
That
bad because Tanner put him as our third striker. That's why it's that bad.
I mean, you're not wrong. All I'm saying is it's bad when you don't remember when a striker scored last, whether it's form or the odds being stacked against him with the competition that he's going up against.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, anyway, we've gone on longer than I know we wanted to. We said on the chat 30 to 45 minutes. It's been an hour now. So predictions for Saturday. I know we'll talk to Dave over the week, but predictions for Saturday's game against San Jose.
Oh my gosh. Tough travel, obviously. Sorry, I was away from the mic. Tough travel out to California. I can see this being a healthy draw and us being okay with it. Win at home, draw away, sneak away with
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
few wins while away from home, and you get a championship. But obviously, it's a little different in the U.S. with having playoffs in the mix. So, I I would be thrilled with a tie considering the travel. And San Jose is a decent team this year, fifth in the West, scoring goals,
Yeah,
playing good soccer, much better than the last couple of years, in my opinion. So I think it's going to be tough, and it also depends on what they decide to do with their striker situation. With is it Caden Cal? Is that how you say his name?
Hayden Cal, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I believe
yeah.
so.
Yeah, or Cal, whatever. I just know him as Cal.
Hmm.
But if he plays, then he's certainly a threat. But we've also seen our back line handle the best of the best with Christian Benteke as well
Hmm.
as Swiderski
Swiderski.
this past Wednesday. So not don't want to say not too worried in hopes to not jinx it, but we know that we're capable of handling players like this. So one tie, I believe, is what we'll see, and I think Julian Carranza will continue his hot streak,
Ooh.
and this will be the game where he taps in a goal from a pass back by a Leon Flack.
Leon Fly. I knew you were going to say that. So if I look back at I look back at the recent form for San Jose, they beat LAFC on May 6th. They lost to LA
That's not
Galaxy.
tough.
Yeah, right. They lost to Galaxy 2-1. They then were beat by LAFC again on the 20th of May. They drew against Dallas. They beat Seattle by 1, and then they just drew against Colorado at Colorado
Mm,
on the 3rd, 0-0. If you look at the
yikes.
head-to-head if you look at I know. If you look at the head-to-head matchups, the Union have outscored San Jose 27-19, while San Jose has given up 19 goals this year, while we have given up 15. But as I said earlier, we've only given up about 2 goals in the last 7 matches. So really, in terms of form, defensively speaking, I feel very confident about that. And I listen. Anytime you go to West Coast, it's gonna be hard. I don't disagree with the draw, although I think considering our form, that'd be a disappointment. But I'm gonna go with a. Oh God, I don't want to match you, but I feel like a 1-1 draw is fine. I don't think we give up 2 goals. I do think we score more than 2 goals, or 1 goal rather. I do think we could pull off a 2-1 win. But considering the travel, I'm gonna go pessimistic with you. I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna say Ua scores again back to back games, and we're gonna get an assist from. Let's go Bueno.
There you go. And
It's a weird assist combo there, but I'm just gonna think outside the box here. We're gonna go Bueno, and we're gonna go Ua with a goal.
there you go. And to your comment on the defensive prowess, last game that we gave up more than one goal, Minnesota US Open Cup fallout, when we had that madness of a game with Kai Wagner strikes left and right. So it's been a minute.
When's the last MLS game though?
God, that's a good question
I'm
because the
looking right now.
previous
I'm looking right
Toronto,
now. The last
Toronto, April 22nd against
Toronto we gave
Toronto,
up
2 goals.
2 goals. And remember, we were up 4-0 in that game. We gave up
Yep.
that 1 goal to Insigne, and then they scored that late cheap goal at the end. So in theory, yes, you're right. Although we kind of gave it up at that point, but we haven't given up more than 1 goal since April 22nd. That's a long
In
time.
MLS play.
So in MLS play. So I feel confident that they can keep it to under a goal. You know what, Jose. To hell with the pessimism. 2-1 Union. We're gonna get a Ua
Ah.
goal. We're gonna get a Bueno assist, and we're gonna get a Gazdag PK because why not, right? That's just why not. Let's do the final thoughts now, and I'll end with the commercial. So final thoughts today, Jose, on this Monday night.
Um, again, hats off. I didn't wear a hat to the game. I haven't for a little bit now that it's getting warmer, but hats off to the fans over the last couple of weeks, specifically this past week, which I hope that when we finally get back to the park on the 24th, it is just as electric and we haven't skipped a beat. So hopefully a nice run of games here in the next 20 whatever some days, the 10th and then the 21st, and then 3 days later they come to us. Hopefully an electric experience again, and it's been great. And yes, we had envisioned only going 30-40 minutes, but Mike, always so much fun to chat with you and discuss this team. So looking forward to we'll have to flip coins, or maybe shortest stick has to cover the press conference after San Jose.
I'll cover it. I'll be up. Don't worry. I'll be up. And if you know me, people who know me well enough know I go to bed at 2 a.m. I wake up at 6 a.m. on a regular basis. So that is across the pitch. My final thought will be the Union are climbing the table. They are currently, 9 points behind Cincinnati for that top supporter shield spot, and they are only 1 point behind Nashville for that second place. Nashville's having themselves a good year. Fafa Picault, our beloved Fafa, is doing well out there in Nashville. So happy to see him doing well. But that's my final thought. To climb the table, keep supporting the team, keep even from away from the whatever bar you go to, keep cheering them on Saturday night, and the following game against Orlando after that long break. Which I know, honestly, Jose is going to be kind of nice for us to have a break for a little
it's
bit.
it's nice, I was actually thinking about it too of like, oh, as much as I want to go, it's also going to be nice to not have to do the 45-50 minute drive each way for a little bit. But I would do it 20 times over considering what we just experienced this past weekend. So double-edged sword.
Exactly. All right, I love it. Let's read the sponsors. We'll end with the commercial, and we'll call it a day. Oh wait, we have one more comment real quick. Here we go. Let me see here if my computer can work properly. Oh, here we go. Valerie, she came in through at the last minute.
Oh my
Quinn
God.
last scored in August 2021 against Montreal. That doesn't seem possible, but Valerie, I'll trust your word for it. That's crazy.
Holy
Okay,
smokes.
the sponsors. We have Statement Games at statementgames.com for a fun new way to fantasy sports entertainment. You win gift cards and prizes. Free to sign up at statementgames.com. We have Doan Distillery at the Trolley Barn Public Market in Quakertown. Go to doandistillery.com to check out their wide variety of drinks and spirits. We have Vinny's Pizza and Restaurant right off the Iroquois Trail in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Discover a new favorite by trying their top pizzas and so much more. Check out their new website at vinnyspizzarestaurant.com. Right next door, like I mentioned before, Stuff to the Grills, 6750 Iroquois Trail number 5 in Allentown, and stufftothegrills.com. They have homemade hot and cold sandwiches, salads, appetizers, baked goods available for any event. Graduation season, got an event, stufftothegrills.com. Across the pitch gear and all AAT Sports Network gear at aatsportsnetwork.com/shop. And then our own personal sponsor here, we have MargotReedStudio.com or Margot Reed Studio on IG. Hopefully, now that she's getting married, has a couple of road trips, she can come back to us soon, maybe for that June match, and get some more picks for us. We'll see. We'll have to talk to her. And then lastly, enjoy. I'm gonna
It's
end the
so
show.
dumb.
It's really stupid. They're my sponsor, but enjoy this 1 minute and 40 second commercial from Jose's narration of Manscaped, and then we'll end the show with that. Have a good night, everybody.
Support for AAT Sports Network is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. With this offer, you'll join over 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Enjoy 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code AAT Sports. That is AAT Sports at manscaped.com. As a married man, I have been there. Personal grooming can be difficult and pretty painful. Luckily, the Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, it is a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, a pair of performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all of your new tools. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This thing is the future of grooming. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess. You thought that was good, but want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Their Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver ball toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will be thankful. To top it all off, Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort in boxers to another level. So remember, get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATSports at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use code AATSports to support us. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. I think we just got to end on that. Sorry, everybody.
It's even better than again when you see it live. Oh, Valerie's comment. Oh my God. Good night, everybody. Happy Monday night. Go Union.